Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer. The DRFBets race of the day for Saturday, December the 2nd is the prestigious Grade 1 Cigar Mile Handicap. Let's take a look at this field. It is the last Grade 1 race in New York in 2017. Mike, you've got some of the better one-turn milers in the country in this race. It really is a fantastic race.
Yeah, it has a real Breeders' Cup look to it too. You got a lot of horses in here a couple who did run in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile recently and certainly fit in races like that. This is a really good field. It's got a little bit of everything too, because you got some pace, you got some really good closers, a bunch of Grade 1 winners. This is a good race.
It's the DRFBets race of the day, and when you sign up right now to DRFBets, you'll have a $300 bonus just waiting in your account when you go to drf.com/fall and use the promo code FALL300, and also free formulator past performances for the Cigar Mile available on the Race of the Day event page on drf.com. Download them, handicap along with us. We'll take the field in post position order, beginning with the number 1 Mind Your Biscuits. He's only banked $2.3 million in his career, and I guess if he's going to get a route, it's going to be a one-turn mile.
Yeah, this is probably the right race to run him into. This is we'll see about the mile. I guess he doesn't have to be at his absolute best at a mile, but I don't know. I suspect that he could run okay at this one-turn mile distance, especially if there's pace in front of him, which there is supposed to be in here. He should have something to run at. I don't know about you, Dan. I thought he ran just fine in the Breeders' Cup last time to be third, especially when you consider his race prior to that in the Forego was so flat. I like the way that he sort of rebounded to a better race last time. I think he's a big contender in this race.
I think it's safe to say, just strip the Forego from his past performances. He obviously hated the racetrack that day. That was the rumor going into the race. He didn't fire. You take that race away, he fires every single time. He just gave up too much ground early in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. He was rolling in the lane, and as you mentioned, you give this one-run closer some pace, he's going to fire. The time form pace projector for this race indicates that the pace will be fast. We expect 3 horses battling it out for the lead. Now, one of them is the number 2, Seymour Deeney, and really, it's up to Seymour Deeney, not up to time form as to whether he'll be close. In a perfect world, he would be close. What happened last time out in the Bold Ruler? You and I have been trying to figure out that race for weeks.
I don't know, and I still can't figure it out. I don't know how to really take it apart for him and decide what was going on in that race where, by the time they came to the top of the stretch, it almost looked like he was going to be eased at the top of the stretch. And then he just started running again at the end. Now, obviously, this was a race. It fell apart a little bit at the end, so perhaps his late run was a little bit of a mirage, but he was really running at the end, and he galloped out past the field. It's a really hard race for me to decipher. I don't know what happened. We were talking about this race a little bit off the air. I'm a huge fan of this horse. I've liked him from day one. I've always felt like he was this kind of horse. He could get into this kind of a race. I would just like him a lot more if he didn't have that last race in his PPs, because I don't know what happened there, and I don't like him off of that performance.
It was just such a perplexing performance that he only ran in spots. I understand he was out sprinted. He may not have that purely sprint speed. In route races, he can be close to the paces time form US projects, but it looked like he was going to be eased on the turn. All of a sudden, he just started to run again. Jose Ortiz was like, well, maybe we can get a piece of this thing. He was flying late at the wire, but he needs to run a complete race against these good horses. He is a very talented runner. The 3 Just Call Kenny looks like a deserved long shot. He won the Grade 3 Illman earlier this year. That was only a 4-horse field. He got a great setup against a weak bunch. He is 0 for 3 since. He faced Discreet Lover last time out. At least that horse came back to win the Swatara at Penn National with a 97 buyer. He needs a lot of things to go his way.
Yeah, he's just in too tough here. He's a really nice horse, hard-hitting kind of horse. He's been fine in one-turn routes the few times they've tried it with him, just not against these kinds of horses.
Trainer Dallas Stewart is one of the hottest trainers in the country. It seems like he wins graded stakes races every week now. He's got the Keeneland graduate, the number 4, Tom's Ready. Mike Smith's going to take the call. This horse won the Bold Ruler. He beat a few of these horses last time out. He was flattered when Stalwalk and Dude came back to win with a triple-digit buyer in the fall high-weight handicap. Perhaps Tom's Ready is coming back into form, but I watched that Bold Ruler, and I just thought that pace collapsed. It set up perfectly for him.
Yeah, it was a fast pace that fell apart at the end. That's what he needs. This is a horse. He's obviously talented. He can really run. He's got 2 big wins in New York now. That Bold Ruler last time, and as a 3-year-old, he won the Woody Stevens sprinting at 7 furlongs. Another race that had a huge pace that just totally fell apart at the end. That's what he needs to be at his very best. We saw the pace projector. It's supposed to be fast. He's supposed to have another setup in here. He's probably good enough to get it done. I'm probably not going to take him this time, but I'm not going to be surprised when he comes running at the end either.
I expect the speed of the speed to come from the number 5, Americanize. This is Southern California speed. He's won his last 2 races for Simon Callahan, and it looks like he's figured it out with Buyers of 97 and a 102 on Breeders' Cup Day in the Damascus going gate 2 wire. He's going to have to stretch it out to a mile. He's going to be hounded right next door from Sharp Azteca, but I think this horse is getting good.
I do too. I like his last 2 races. I do think he's sort of had a lot go his way in those races, but I still think he ran well both times too, and I do think he is getting better. It's very interesting that they ship him over here to run in a big race like this. They obviously have some confidence in him. I guess they got to send him. I don't see why they would ship him all the way across the country to run in this race and then not let him use his speed. He'll go. We'll see what Sharp Azteca does right alongside. Gotta believe they race early, Dan.
Sharp Azteca, the 6, is the morning line favorite, 2-1 on Eric Donovan's line. Winner of the Kelso 2 starts back at a 1-turn mile. They tried 2 turns in the Breeders' Cup. He was far from embarrassed. He was on the pace. Battle of Midway came. Battle of Midway was just better than him on the day.
Yeah.
Here is a Jorge Navarro formulator fact to consider. Over the past year, older dirt routers making the 3rd start after a layoff line of 45 days or greater. 61% and a 358 ROI. You got to think that new jockey Javier Castellano, he might let Americanize go and sit second off this horse. Is he as effective with a horse in front of him, or does he need to control the pace?
You got to go with him. I mean, I don't see why they would try to rate him now, especially in this race. He's a horse who he's run well in several Grade 1 races. He hasn't won any of them. I'm sure they'd really like to get him one here. To me, the only way he gets it is if he goes and he can put away that other speed and then hold on at the end. It's interesting to look at him, Dan, because when you go through, and I suppose you could say his Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, I was pretty disappointed that he didn't win that race. I guess you could say he was closest to the rail in there. Felt like the rail wasn't the place to be. Maybe that's his excuse. I still feel like that was a disappointing loss. And then when you start going through his other races prior to that, Kelso, slow pace against a field that just couldn't beat him. Monmouth Cup, slow pace against a field that just couldn't beat him. Even the mile where he was second, he ran fine. It was not a big pace in that race. There were no closers involved. I feel like it might be a little tougher for him this time because I think this pace is supposed to be fast with Americanized, and he's going to have to race that horse. I know that he can win. I know he's good enough to win. I just don't want to bet him in here, especially if he's the favorite.
The 7, Vulcan's Forge for trainer Todd Pletcher, began his career as a turf runner, has sort of been rejuvenated as a 1-turn router. The Buyers are slowly creeping forward, but they still pale in comparison to the top contenders in this race. He is another horse that is getting good. He's in good form. He is solid, but he needs to run a career best to win.
I like him a lot better as a dirt horse than a turf horse. I don't think I like him all that much as a Grade 1 dirt horse. I don't think he's there yet, but he is getting better, and he is a horse, listen, he wants to sit back and make one run through the stretch. He's going to get to do that in the Cigar Mile.
The 8, Practical Joke. This will be the final start of his career. He is a multiple Grade 1 stakes winner around 1 turn. He is 5 for 5 around 1 turn, 0 for 6 around 2. Last time out in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, obviously they tried 2 turns at Del Mar. He had a very difficult outside post position. He sort of finished evenly. Getting back to 1 turn in a race with pace works to his favor. This horse really has done nothing wrong in his life.
No, I really thought it was a good try last time in the Breeders' Cup too, just because, you know, the pace never really developed all that much in that race. And I feel like Joel Rosario just thought going in, I got post 10, they're probably going to go in front of me, and I think he made up his mind right at the start. I'm going to take this horse back and try and save some ground, and he did that right from the start. The problem is they didn't really go in front of him. The pace wasn't that fast. I thought he did well to finish as close as he did in there. I thought it was a pretty good effort, and you're right, you know, you start taking his PPs apart, and you got to do that a little bit to get to the 1-turn races, but he is 5 for 5, and you start looking at the Buyers, 83 to an 85 to an 88 to a 101 to a 104. He's improved his figure in every single 1-turn race. If he does it again on Saturday, he can beat this field.
The 9 Summer Revolution goes out for the red-hot Rudy Rodriguez. This horse started his career last year as a 3-year-old with a lot of buzz. He was thrown to the Wolves. Grade 1 King's Bishop in start number 3. Grade 2 Pennsylvania Derby start number 4. Kind of got sour after then. Rudy gave him plenty of time. He came back with a really nice victory. I think this horse has a future. I also think that that last race looks good because he beat a pretty bad bunch.
It wasn't a great field. He was just better than them. I like the way that he did it considering the layoff. You know, he didn't really bury that field, but he won it easy enough, and as a starting point on the way back, I think it's good. I'm with you. I think he has some talent. I think he's going to turn out to be pretty good, this horse. I just feel like, and you know, they tried the King's Bishop last year, which I have no problem with. He didn't even run that badly in that race. I'm surprised they pressed on with him. After the Pennsylvania Derby, which felt like the wrong race anyway, I'm surprised they pressed on with him after that. He ran 2 bad ones. He's back in good form now. I still think this is too tough for him, but watch him down the road.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Grade 1 Cigar Mile. 3-year-olds have done very well in this race in recent years. We're both going with 3-year-olds. You like Practical Joke. Let's talk a little bit about my top pick, the 10 Beasley. He's 12-1 on the morning line. Mark Henning tried him in the Tampa Bay Derby in start number 4. He was 9-2 in that race. He didn't run terribly at all. He ran just fine. I like that after that race they kind of stopped on him. They realized that race, while okay, was not good enough to contend in the Triple Crown Series. They brought him back at shorter distances. He showed a lot of guts in his first 2 starts to win. And in the Bold Ruler, he was close to that solid pace, close enough. He didn't really have that burst that runner-up Stalwalk and Dude had at the quarter pole. He was kind of looped by that horse, but then he grinded it out. He finished an okay third. The Beyer finally exploded into an area where it's very competitive to win in this spot. I like the outside post with his tactical speed. I think he lets the speeds go. He settles into 4th or 5th on the outside. Listen, he's a very lightly raced 3-year-old. I think there's upside and the price is right.
I agree with all that stuff. I have absolutely nothing to add to it. I thought he ran fine in the Bold Ruler last time, especially when you consider, you know, he was a lot closer to the pace than Tom's Ready was, a lot closer to the pace than Stalwalk and Dude was. And when Stalwalk and Dude came by him at the top of the stretch, put him in a little tight. You could see this horse exchange a couple of bumps with Mr. Crow, who was stopping to the inside. I like the way that he regathered once he got clear, though, and he finished at the end. I'm not going to be surprised if he runs well in here.
Mike's going to go with the number 8, Practical Joke, in the Grade 1 Cigar Mile. I'll go 10, 6, 2, and 4 in the feature at Aqueduct on a really nice afternoon of racing. And again, if you play at home, DRFBets is the way to go. $300 bonus, drf.com/fall. Use the promo code Fall300. Approximate post time for the Cigar. Race number 10 at the Big A on Saturday, 4:16 Eastern. Good luck.